Tonight, a new warning from Biden to Netanyahu after Israeli missiles killed 7 aid workers.
The president felt strongly that it was time to talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu about his concerns.
President to Prime Minister, what was said in the 30-minute phone call and what it could mean for getting aid into Gaza. A blast of spring snow knocks out power for more than 500,000 Canadians.
Yesterday, there was flowers, and today it's under a foot of snow.
And it's not over yet. And billions after billions after billions in pre-budget promises.
We're going to continue to focus on putting money in the pockets of Canadians.
At Issue asks, will that pay off?
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. Tonight, the United States is giving Israel a serious new demand to make concrete changes in its approach in Gaza, or else the U.S. may change its policy on the war. The message was delivered in a half-hour phone call between the U.S. president and the Israeli prime minister, their first conversation since Israeli missiles killed 7 aid workers, including a Canadian, helping to deliver food in Gaza earlier this week. Biden underscoring an immediate ceasefire is essential. And there are now reports Israel may already be starting to act, agreeing to open aid routes into Gaza, including a crossing in the north that's been closed since the beginning of the war. Paul Hunter now with those late developments.
4 days after the Israeli attack on that food aid convoy in Gaza, killing 7 aid workers, including a Canadian. A threat from U.S. President Joe Biden to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I would characterize this call as very direct, very businesslike, very professional on both sides.
A 30-minute phone call from Biden to Netanyahu warning the Israeli leader that if Israel doesn't ease up in its approach to its war on Hamas in Gaza, the U.S., a longtime staunch ally of Israel, will change its policies on the war. The toughest words yet on this from Biden.
The president made it clear that our policies with respect to Gaza will be dependent upon our assessment of how well the Israelis make changes and implement changes to make the situation in Gaza better for the Palestinian people.
Biden, under pressure to more strongly support Palestinians, demanded that Israel now allow in more aid and that Netanyahu take concrete steps to reduce the violence against civilians in Gaza and, indeed, aid workers. Within hours of the Biden phone call, the White House said Israel committed to open aid routes into Gaza, including at the northern border crossing of Erez, which had been closed since the start of the war. Still, the U.S. is demanding more than just that, as echoed earlier by the U.S. Secretary of State in Brussels.
If we don't see the changes that we need to see, there'll be changes in our own policy.
Meanwhile, in the lingering aftermath of that strike on the aid convoy and the death of Canadian Jacob Flickinger, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau joined the call for an open, transparent, and independent investigation.
I have to directly take issue with what Prime Minister Netanyahu said yesterday when he said, well, this just happens in conflicts and in wartime. No, it doesn't just happen.
And Paul, in addition to Gaza, I understand that Iran also came up in that call between Biden and Netanyahu.
Yes, it did, Adrian. Israel is tonight bracing for some kind of retaliatory response from Iran to that strike in Damascus this week that killed senior Iranian military leaders at a diplomatic compound. The Israeli military is now on high alert, with Biden and Netanyahu indeed talking today about the potential threat to Israel posed by Iran. All of it, once again, raising larger fears the fighting in that region could be set to soon spread.
All right, Paul Hunter reporting in Washington. Thank you. We're learning more about the little boy in Edmonton who was killed earlier this week by 2 dogs. His grieving mother is opening up, offering the final words she said to her son. And she spoke tonight to Julia Wong.
Yes! It's a memory of a happier time for Kendra Wong. The last few days have been agonizing after the death of her 11-year-old Cash Grist.
He was so polite. He was just the sweetest boy ever. He was so gentle.
Monday night, police say Cash was attacked and killed by 2 very large dogs. It happened in this house in Edmonton. Cash lived in BC and was visiting his father.
I lost it. I just regret letting him leave. The last thing I said to him was, come over here. I feel like I'm never going to see you again, and I'm going to miss you. So he came over and gave me 5 big hugs, 3 kisses, and said, I love you.
Wong says Cash had been scheduled to leave mere hours after the attack. Police say the dogs belong to a roommate of Cash's father. She says he told her the dogs were Cane Corsi, the same breed as this one seen here.
I mean, Corsos are just a high-drive, large, athletic guardian breed. They're very, very capable of being really well socialized, but again, because of their size, if their behavior isn't as balanced as it needs to be, those outcomes can be pretty severe.
The city of Edmonton says animal control had been called here before for 2 other complaints of attacks inside. A possible charge in this case could be criminal negligence causing death, this lawyer says.
There's no doubt that the fact that you have failed to supervise your animal before is going to be a factor in determining whether your actions in this case were negligent.
Cash's mother says, considering the other complaints, something should have been done earlier about the dogs.
Oh my God!
For now, she's focused on her son's memory.
He was my world. That's 100%. We did everything together. Now he's never going to come home.
The dogs were seized by animal control earlier this week. The police now investigating exactly how this tragedy could have happened. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
South of Edmonton, a snowfall warning is in effect tonight from Calgary all the way to the U.S. border. Environment Canada says parts of southern Alberta could see up to 30 centimeters and that the heavy snow could continue to fall into Friday. And the snow isn't just in Alberta. Parts of Quebec are digging out tonight after a spring storm closed schools and knocked out power to hundreds of thousands. Sarah Levitt shows us the aftermath.
It may officially be spring, but in Montreal, winter is exacting its revenge, walloping the city and much of southern Quebec with wet, heavy snow. City officials warn cleanup will take time.
We have to plow the snow away from 10,000 kilometers, 6,000 kilometers of sidewalks and 4,000 kilometers of streets.
Driven by whipping winds, the dense snow brought down trees and power lines, forcing hundreds of schools to close and leaving many in the dark. At noon, 250,000 Quebec households were without power.
The snow is essentially 3 to 6 times more heavy than usually it would be. So it has an impact on trees, of course. Branches have broken or falling on our network, causing outages.
Crews are out trying to restore power, but some customers have been warned it may not happen before Friday. Many are feeling whiplash. This was Montreal last week, sunny and free of snow. Now, this.
I felt pretty depressed, honestly. Yesterday, there was flowers, and today it's under a foot of snow. So
I had to go back into my closet and fish out all my stuff. I almost wore my spring coat, and I'm glad I didn't.
Another concern, road conditions across much of the city are slushy and challenging.
I wish I didn't change my winter tires on Sunday. That was definitely a mistake.
This meteorologist says winter weather doesn't always obey the calendar, especially in Montreal.
In the first half of April, don't be surprised. It doesn't happen every year. In the second half of April, it's more exceptional. And at the beginning of May, it's like near records or it's really extreme.
And as the storm now pushes into the Maritimes, some people here are making the most of it.
C'est vraiment beau. C'est malade.
This skier says the conditions are sick.
So, Sarah, that storm definitely not done yet. Can you take us through the next few days?
Yeah, it's still going to be messy with snowfall warnings in northeastern New Brunswick as well as northern Cape Breton. Some places expecting up to 30 centimeters of that heavy snow that we've seen here. And don't forget the wind. Some areas of Nova Scotia expecting winds up to 80 kilometers per hour, but they should be dying down by Friday. Adrian?
All right, Sarah Levitt in a still stormy Montreal. From the Atlantic to the Pacific now, and the emergency still unfolding in Taiwan. Hundreds of people are now believed to be trapped after Wednesday's powerful earthquake. Cam McIntosh now on the race to get them to safety.
At this temporary medical station, dozens of rescued tourists tended to. This woman, one of many here, out hiking when the quake hit.
The night was a terrible, terrible ordeal with aftershocks and tremors and rocks falling every few minutes.
Through the day, rescue crews focused on the rugged and mountainous terrain of the sprawling county of Hualien, near the quake's epicenter off Taiwan's east coast. It's estimated hundreds were still stranded Thursday. Aftershocks and rock slides slowing access in many areas, like this trail leading to a quarry where these miners were stranded, rescued later by helicopter. Rocks were like bullets coming from above, says this miner. Some people have been found unconscious or with serious injuries. The Taiwanese government says 3 Canadian tourists were rescued in a national park. At this hostel, owners say some guests remain missing.
So we both very worried about our guests.
In the aftermath, more evidence of how violent that magnitude 7.4 quake was. Cracked walls, bouncing bridges, a shaking hospital where nurses huddled newborns together. In Hualien City, that tilted building symbolic of the disaster is being pulled down. Inside, a body of a woman was found who ran back in to get her cat. But most buildings, while damaged, still stand. Taiwan is built to withstand earthquakes. Still, the first big one in 25 years has people rattled. With many now thinking about the next one, but for now, the focus remains on rescue and recovery. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A new report out tonight says patients in this country are now waiting longer for surgeries than before the pandemic. Christine Birak takes us through the numbers and shows us how some hospitals are coping.
Canadians are waiting longer for more procedures compared to 2019.
We're still seeing the, lingering effects of the pandemic.
But researchers also say more surgeries are happening, which means
things are trending in the right direction.
But there's a long way to go. The goal is to have 90% of Canadians have their hip replaced within 26 weeks of a booking date. The latest national data reveals in 2023, the number was only 66%. Ontario did better at nearly 80%. All other provinces fell well below average, including BC, Alberta, and Quebec. PEI had the longest waits. Similarly, 60% of Canadians had their knee replaced within the goal. In Ontario, the number was higher. All other provinces fell short. In Quebec, just 38% had their knee replaced within about 6 months.
As we've ramped up all of our capacity, we are looking at doing more cases than we're actually funded for.
Some Ontario hospitals collaborated to do as many surgeries as possible. Here at Humber, the province only funded about 1,500 hip and knee surgeries last year.
Some hospitals may stop at that cap because many hospitals are in a lot of deficit given the current climate.
Humber performed 2,300 with help from fundraising.
There needs to be a recognition of this problem and accountability on how we're going to solve it.
The Canadian Orthopedic Association recommends running hospital operating rooms evenings and weekends, stabilizing staffing, and adds data should guide fixing backlogs.
It's not just about, counting wait times. There's actually individuals who are affected by this.
And with an aging population, the demand for procedures is only going up. Experts insist the best time to properly equip our health system was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Again tonight, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is promising more money for housing, part of about $25 billion now of new spending announcements ahead of the federal budget. And he says he won't raise taxes to pay for it, at least not on the middle class.
We're going to continue to focus on affordability. We're going to continue to focus on putting money in the pockets of Canadians. There are no plans to raise taxes on the middle class.
There was no promise not to raise taxes on other groups, however. Today's announcement, $1.5 billion to help nonprofit organizations buy up more rental units and keep them affordable. And Rosie takes the Liberals' pre-budget tour to Chantal, Andrew, and Althea. Will all those promises pay off? That and more in At Issue in just a few minutes. 3 new Democrat MPs say they will not be seeking re-election. Together, they represent more than 40 years of experience in Parliament.
It's always tough, though, to see some of the veterans move on, but we respect all the great work they've done,
and honor them, and we'll continue their legacy with great new MPs.
Charlie Angus was one of the MPs who made the announcement today. He's been a prominent voice in the party and in Parliament and has represented his Northern Ontario riding since 2004. Carol Hughes, also a Northern Ontario MP, will not run again as her riding is divided up the next election. And finally, Rachel Blaney, first elected on Vancouver Island in 2015, announced she is leaving politics. Well, Ford is pushing back plans to start producing electric vehicles out of Ontario. As Philip Lee Shannock shows us, the move is the latest in a series of setbacks for the EV industry as a whole.
Ford is taking its foot off the gas, delaying plans to produce electric vehicles out of its Oakville, Ontario plant by 2 years. Ford says the extra time will allow for EV demand to pick up. The union representing workers is pushing back.
Promises have been made, and we expect Ford Motor Company to live up to that.
One of those promises, secure jobs, about 3,000 of them. Ford now says there will be layoffs.
It's just deeply disappointing.
Sharing in that disappointment, the province and the federal government. They each invested $295 million in the Oakville plant. Both say they plan to press Ford.
Obviously, this is not the news we expected. We wanted that time frame to be as short as possible, and that's what we're going to push the company for.
Despite the investment and the anger, some experts are defending the new timeline, saying growth in EV sales is slowing, in part because of the cost and concern over battery range.
Automakers don't control the consumer. We have to build out the supports to help more consumers make that switch and make the jump into electric.
Others note that Ford is not alone. General Motors is also slowing work to retool factories for EV production. And Tesla has seen a large dip in sales. Both signs that not everyone's sold on the switch to electric yet.
We all do know where this is headed. It's the only debate we're having is how steep the curve is.
Still, Ford is aiming to roll out its 7-seat EV at the Ontario plant by 2027. And with Canada aiming to end the sale of new gas-powered cars in 2035, a shift is imminent, even if the pace is now slowing. Philip Lee Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
Women's college basketball is capturing record TV ratings.
Clark running. Clark eyes up behind the back, through the lane, lays it in.
Why, it's more than just a moment for women's sports. A new report shows Canada's forests are in trouble.
So there was actually a five-fold increase from loss due to fires.
And one woman gets a startling hug from an octopus.
I thought I was going to die.
We're back in 2. Officials on northern Vancouver Island are trying to relocate this orphaned killer whale calf from where it's been stranded in a lagoon for nearly 2 weeks. All options to reunite it with its extended family are being considered, including airlifting it out by helicopter or transporting it in a holding pen on a truck. As the rescue is planned, the orca's health is being monitored. And again in BC, a North American first in wildfire training. The province announced a dedicated wildfire education and training center in Kamloops on the heels of last year's record wildfire season.
The center will offer everything from basic training all the way through to postdoctoral work on fire behavior and science.
And through wildfire training, students will earn credits towards a degree. BC Wildfire Service and Thompson Rivers University will work together designing the program, which could begin next year. Well, that historic wildfire season across this country last year is being blamed for wiping out global progress when it comes to preserving the world's forest. Anand Ram explains why.
This year, the fruits of Vidal Munoz's labor are fewer and farther away, because these forests that provide for him are burned by other farmers to illegally clear land for more money-making crops. Some experts say past leadership looked the other way.
Conservation is a colonial line that the North wants to impose to the South. We see that discourse have become in many ways a policy.
Bolivia is one of a few countries called out in a new report on the state of protecting the world's forests. Weaker regulations there, but stronger policies are showing progress nearby.
Natureza
que está precisando de dinheiro.
Se puede negociar.
Pro-environment leadership in both Brazil and Colombia is changing those forests' fortunes, and the data shows it. Compared to last year, both countries had big declines in deforestation. But the big outlier globally, Canada's wildfires.
There was actually a big increase, five-fold increase from loss due to fires in Canada from 2022 to 2023, and we wanted to make sure to highlight that in the report.
Simply put, the scale of Canada's fires, made worse by climate change, is limiting any progress in forest conservation.
It sometimes feels frustrating, like some of that is canceled out by this larger issue that we're facing.
And with similarly dry conditions, Canada looks primed for a repeat of last year.
We really should be focused on restoring forests that have already been impacted. And we really need to start planning to make our forests climate resilient for an uncertain future.
However, experts stress that protecting the world's forests through good policies can help combat climate change and bring back life and livelihood to these lungs of the earth. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
More eyes than ever are on women's college basketball.
Edwards, aggressive to the rim.
The athletes bringing the game to a bigger audience. And Rosie's here with that issue. Hello, you.
Hey, Adrienne. Tonight, we're going to talk about provinces pushing back on the latest pre-budget housing announcements.
If a province decides that no, it doesn't want to be that ambitious, we will just work directly with municipalities.
Are these measures by the federal government an overreach? Chantal, Althea, and Andrew join me to talk about that and a whole lot more.
Just 4 days out from the highly anticipated solar eclipse, veterinarians have a warning for pet owners. If you're in the path of the celestial event, remember it could all affect your animal too.
The big response that is reported is one of nonspecific fear or anxiety, simply because this is so uncertain.
Vets are suggesting you keep your pets inside if at all possible. They add wild animals may act a bit strangely as well. And we will have extensive coverage of the eclipse on Monday. It all begins at 6 a.m. Eastern on CBC News Network, and then at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can also tune in on CBC Television or watch on CBC Gem. Well, anticipation is also building for tomorrow's Final Four matchups in the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament. As Jamie Strachan shows us, superstars like Iowa's Caitlin Clark are making this year's March Madness appointment viewing.
Clark eyes up behind the back through the lane.
There is no athlete generating more buzz right now than the University of Iowa's Caitlin Clark.
Clark looking to turn the corner.
Her team is set to take on the University of Connecticut in the semifinals of the NCAA March Madness tournament on Friday.
Clark again.
Ticket prices are nearing $1,000, more than the men's semifinal.
I think that really puts into perspective where women's basketball is going and the type of excitement around our game.
More than 12 million people watched the women's quarterfinal between Louisiana State University and Iowa. More than every Major League Baseball game played last year. Clark is one of a growing roster of college players making a name for themselves.
Edwards, aggressive to the rim.
Including Kingston, Ontario's Aaliyah Edwards, who plays for Connecticut.
We're not only a hockey country, we're trying to be a basketball country as well, so a lot of love up north, and I appreciate all of you.
Longtime University of Saskatchewan and former Canadian national team coach Lisa Tomaitis says all of it is good for the game, but says calling this a moment diminishes decades of work.
I don't like that because it seems, it refers to something that's fleeting. And I think for those of us who've been in women's basketball have recognized this for many years that this has been going on. There's been no shortage of talent.
The increased spotlight on not just basketball, but also hockey and soccer could attract a new generation of fans and athletes.
Women can actually start to get to know these other women that are in this space, because before it felt like out of sight, out of mind, because they weren't even visible to you. So you didn't even know they existed.
And then Aaliyah Edwards right here uses her footwork underneath the basket.
For those who've spent a lifetime building the game, it's a long time coming.
Proving that it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Now let's break down the week in politics. It's Thursday, which means Rosie's here with that issue.
At issue this week, Ottawa is promising new money for provinces and municipalities to help with housing and infrastructure, but that cash comes with strings attached.
If the province doesn't want to step up with ambition on building the infrastructure needed to support more housing in general across the province, we'll do it specifically with willing partners.
Some provinces say it's not for Ottawa to decide.
I'm going to leave that up to each municipality to decide because they know better than the province and the federal government.
So is Ottawa overreaching with these housing measures? Do political jurisdictions outweigh the need to address the housing crisis? Hi there, I'm Rosemary Barton, here to break it down on At Issue tonight. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, and Althea Raj is back. Althea, because you're back, I'm going to start with you. What do you make of the way some provinces, not all, but some provinces have responded to this offer of money with some conditions in terms of how it should be used for zoning and other things?
Well, I think it's understandable that they would not want the federal government to interfere in their sphere of jurisdiction. They also don't want to be holding the bag of blame. But I do think this is actually the strategy that the Liberals are welcoming, because they want the Prime Minister to be cast as this defender of housing for all. And the premiers are the ones standing in the way. And so they're trying to make an issue that was an issue on which they were defensive, now they're on the offensive. And it's the Premier's fault that housing is not getting done. So it's almost like a dream scenario the Liberal government has planned.
It does seem like a pretty big shift, Chantal, over the past 10 days, say, when, all we heard was that Justin Trudeau was responsible for housing problems. And I'm sure we'll still hear that. But the script, as Althea points out, has flipped a little.
Yes, there's been a change in tone in the Prime Minister. He is a lot more aggressive in his answers, not just on housing, on just about everything. I think there are Liberal strategists who have come to the conclusion that it's impossible for Justin Trudeau to be more aggressive than Pierre Poilievre, his main opponent. But bottom line, if we are talking about how things work and how things get done, the current federal strategy might be great on messaging, but it borders on federalism malpractice. You are not going to get things done without some heavy degree of cooperation between levels of government. And no amount of threats or saying, I challenge you to do this or else I won't do this from the federal government is going to change that. Because jurisdictions are not just about what it says in the Act of North America. They're also about practicalities, as who has the levers to do what. And in this instance, housing, meals for kids, etc., the provinces do.
Sure, but let me take the housing accelerator example, for instance. There, too, provinces had issues with it. So then the federal government's just walked around and made deals with cities. If they work with the cities, what is the problem for the provinces? Chantal, you can respond to that, and then Andrew.
At this point, the federal government is saying the cities will get more money with meeting a variety of conditions, i.e. accepting the charter for people who rent, accepting a change in their bylaws. I'm not sure the federal government is equipped to exact that from every city in the country.
Sure.
And in the province I live in, the cities are not allowed to accept that money in any event without going through the Quebec government.
Andrew.
I mean, the provinces are notorious dogs in the manger about, their jurisdictional issues, and they're never shy about deciding how the federal government should exercise its responsibilities or advising on it. But just because they're self-interested or turf warriors doesn't mean they're wrong. I see people saying, well, how can we get hung up on constitutional niceties at a time like this, meaning the division of powers in the Constitution? But it's more than just, legal mumbo-jumbo. There's some practical realities underlying it. It's not clear to me what the federal government knows about school lunches, for example, that the provinces don't. I'm not clear that they have a special expertise in rewriting, municipal zoning laws. There's a reason why we do locate these things closer to the people. And what we do know also from when the federal government does get heavily into provincial jurisdiction, maybe with justification, maybe with some good sides to it, But if you look at the mess that healthcare is in right now, a large part of that is because there's no accountability. There's such blurred lines with the federal government funding this and the provinces funding that, and everybody pointing fingers at each other. It makes it very hard to hold anybody to account or to get any change going on. So there's a reason for these constitutional lines. They're not just to satisfy lawyers, they're to make for more effective government. And when the federal government comes piling in like this, it isn't just a matter of, though Chantal is certainly right to say you're not going to get much done without provincial cooperation. But even if you get it, it's not clear you're going to get better government out of it.
Althea?
But the flip side, of that is that, Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, has been prosecuting the case for more than a year that basically everything is Justin Trudeau's fault. That if you don't have a house, it's Justin Trudeau's fault. That if your kids are hungry, it's Justin Trudeau's fault. And so in that way, he's kind of given the Liberals a bit of leeway to enter into areas of provincial jurisdiction, into areas that are not traditionally seen as the role of the federal government, to dictate terms in a way that I think gives him a little bit more cover. And frankly, this is an area where I would say most most Liberal caucus members are actually supportive. They're more center-left, and these are things that they would like to see get done, and they would like to see their government have a record. And now it feels like he's finally waging battle, he being the Prime Minister here. We can argue about what's in the British North America Act, and I think we will all agree about what's in the British North America Act. But when it comes to people's perceptions, they don't really care which government is giving them X or Y. They just want to know that it's happening.
I don't disagree.
But that's not the point. The point is you're not going to get any of this done unless the provinces and the municipalities engage. It's not a question of what's written anywhere. The federal government, unless Justin Trudeau wants a second job delivering sandwiches, is not about to find which school needs more meals on wheels or free lunches.
He's not going to do that. He's going to hand over money to the provinces, and they're going to administer their system. The fact is, on a lot of issues, actually, we had a lot of provinces say no initially and then get to a yes, like on childcare, for example. So it's not necessarily a no, like he doesn't have partners to work with. I think on some of the housing stuff, what is interesting is where the provinces are drawing the lines. Like in Ontario, for example, the Liberals are banking on the fact that people want housing, and they're speaking to millennials and Generation Z that want a house wherever it is, whatever it looks like. And the Premier seems to be talking to older Canadians who live in suburbs and don't want to see a fourplex set up next to them. Who will win that battle? I don't know, but like there are interesting nuances in that discussion too.
Andrew.
I don't disagree that Pierre Poilievre has been just as willing to disregard the division of powers as the Feds are, and as the Liberals are, and I can see Justin Trudeau effectively taking Pierre Poilievre's strategy or page out of his strategy by picking fights with people. And I think that's what this is mostly about. Whether or not he gets the cooperation with the provinces, I think the Liberals are living day to day at this point, and what they really need in the short term is to see the Prime Minister out fighting with people and showing getting his dander up. And I think that's mostly what this is about. I'm just saying it may be good politics. I'm not at all clear it's good policy.
But Chantal, doesn't the federal government have to try and do something, given, as Althea said, that they were wearing so much of the blame for housing, or is it the way they approached it?
In the old days, if you were going to do something efficient and you really believed that you were going to do it, instead of having a summit on car thefts, you would have called in the premiers and worked out a consensus on a way forward and listened to the points of views of people who are actually closer to the front line than you are. But I agree with Andrew, this is not about public policy. This is about politics. Now, that being said, yes, provinces will make deals to get money, but time is running out, and the temptation to wait out the Liberals at this point, unless they get a bump in the polls from this, is going to be increasingly appealing to premiers.
Althea, you want a last word there?
I will just say that on this flurry of pre-budget announcements, which are actually kind of rare, it does make me wonder what's actually in the budget. Like, it's a smart strategy to have the things that you want talked about announced early, because when there's too much, it gets crowded out on the day of the budget. But it kind of makes me wonder if there's a really bad piece of news that they were worried would crowd out everything else.
Yeah, well, that's the journalist in you, and that's why we'll see. I guess we'll see. Okay, we're going to leave this topic here. When we come back, though, we'll take a look at the latest testimony at the foreign interference inquiry.
5 to 9 seats that I think were possibly changed as a result of foreign interference.
What's to be made of allegations that meddling cost Conservative seats? That's next. At issue from the foreign interference inquiry, former Conservative leader Erin O'Toole says meddling from China cost his party as many as 9 seats.
I think there was enough misinformation and voter suppression to perhaps change the outcome in as many as that.
But O'Toole doesn't dispute the overall outcome of the election.
There were a number of reasons we lost, but in some seats where there was evidence of misinformation and interference, we continued to work with officials quietly behind the scenes.
So what's been made of the latest testimony from the inquiry and the former Conservative leader? Let's bring back everybody. Chantal, Andrew, and Althea. Andrew, I'll start with you. Let's talk about Mr. O'Toole's claims there specifically. It's also become apparent over a few days now that it doesn't seem like information was being shared with the people it needed to be shared with or dealt with properly. But give me your reaction to what Mr. O'Toole said.
Well, I see no reason to disagree with his estimate of 5 to 9 seats possibly having been affected by this. I don't know whether he's right or not. I'm a little less persuaded that, as I'm saying in some circles, that he might have held onto his job as leader if he'd got those seats. I'm not sure that was where the party was at. But even if it didn't flip any seats, even if it didn't change a single vote, it's really, really troubling to see the level of interference, which I think by now is incontestable, and the many different varieties of it, whether it was spreading misinformation campaigns, whether it was, as it's been alleged, channeling funding to selected candidates, whether it was placing staffers close to candidates who would be helpful to the Chinese cause. There's a whole range of these different things, and they're all really, really troubling, quite apart from the fate of Erin O'Toole or the Conservative Party, for that matter.
Yeah, and across party lines, I think that's fair to say as well. That we heard from Conservatives, an NDP MP, a Liberal, obviously, a former Liberal. Chantal.
Well, I'm guessing on the politics of it, one of the questions that will be asked over the next few days is whether Justin Trudeau himself knew about this possibility or had been briefed further than his own campaign manager. But what I otherwise found more interesting was not Mr. O'Toole's contention, which isn't new and which may be based in fact or not, but the notion that none of the campaign managers were briefed beyond the usual do not click on this link, cybersecurity 101, from the committee that was supposed to oversee the election. And that got me thinking that, the bird's eye view of federal campaigns with an eye to foreign interference can't possibly work. Because if you're sitting at bird level, it's not happening there. It's happening at ground level. And unless you want to pay attention to what's happening in selected ridings, you're not going to be effective in warning parties that something is actually happening that is serious. Yeah. So I think the entire notion that civil servants high up and security people high up will get together and be able to watch and supervise the election doesn't really work unless you involve people who have actually been in campaigns and run campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem to be sort of the recurring thing here, Althea, that the people who were involved in things, from the candidates to the campaign managers, they're the ones being affected by it, and either they weren't told that there were risks, or when they tried to raise alarm bells, like Michael Chong said yesterday, they didn't even really get a response, which seems just bananas, I think, when you think about it.
Baffling.
Yeah.
I think there's a few things to kind of pull apart. First is it's clear that the parties were either not treated like their concerns were serious and not enough information was shared. I think that's obvious. I don't know if you can really say that the Conservatives lost 5 to 9 seats because of Chinese interference. Mr. O'Toole talked about the vaccine mandate. Maybe those Chinese Canadians were more worried about the vaccine mandate than they worried about the Conservative stance on the Uyghurs, for example. Who knows? I don't think we can determine that. Sure. One thing that struck out from Mr. O'Toole's testimony was when he said that Daniel Jean, who was the former national security advisor of the Prime Minister, had overstepped his bounds when he talked about Indian foreign interference affecting the Prime Minister's disastrous trip to India. And then that was completely inappropriate. But he felt that it was appropriate for him to demand that the nonpartisan public serving committee overseeing elections, that he felt he should have been stronger in demanding that they call the whistle in the middle of an election to say that there was foreign interference happening in some ridings.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have it both ways. So where is the line? And maybe that line is not clear enough for everybody involved. Maybe that threshold needs to be explored. But at the moment, it seems like the commission, because it's so much crowded in secrecy, it's really hard to even be able to understand what's following if you don't have access to the classified information. So I don't know. I feel like we're going to be left from this feeling very unsatisfied. And a lot of the answers that we probably need clarity on, that the parties need clarity on, I don't know if we will get that.
Chantal, and then Andrew.
I still think it's a more useful public service to have this commission than the notion from the special rapporteur's report that there was nothing to see there. It at least shows the unseriousness from where I sit, looking at what I heard, of the efforts to watch for foreign interference in the election.
Yeah, it also puts some scrutiny, Andrew, probably rightly so, on how intelligence is gathered and shared, and how the bar for what gets shared is determined too.
Well, we're finding, I mean, we're still to come is, of course, what, who knew what when higher up, but even what we found out so far, not just about what was shared with people, but what information the investigators had. So we found, we had testimony, I forget, was it the chief electoral commissioner saying, I tried to investigate it, but I really didn't have the authority to do X or Y, and so I didn't get very far. The penalties for people who had broken the laws on this thing are ridiculously slight. We're finding out, we knew a lot about this already, but having it sort of rubbed in our faces about the absolute free-for-all of party nomination races, where you don't, in the Liberal case, not only do you not have to be a member of the party, you don't have to be an adult, and you don't have to be a citizen of the country. So busloads of foreign students come in and help decide who gets nominated in a safe riding, and therefore who gets to become the MP. So I think what all this is showing is just how complacent we have been, how inadequate our laws and regulations and procedures are in dealing with this, and as I say, still to come, possibly, we'll find out what was going on in the higher circles of government while all this was going on.
Yeah. And I should say we are going to hear from the Prime Minister in front of that inquiry tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week. So we'll probably talk about it again next week would be my guess, but I'll leave things there for now. Thank you all very much. With that, I'll send things back to Adrian in Toronto.
Thank you, Rosie. Next, an octopus gets a little too close for comfort.
I could feel the weight of his body.
How one woman untangled herself from this situation in our moment. Well, that's a pretty scary sight. An octopus hanging tight to a woman's leg in Victoria. And Catherine Dobrovolsky was certainly worried about what might happen next. But slowly the duo started to warm up to each other, have developed a kind of unlikely friendship. Their maybe unbreakable bond is our moment.
Hey, baby, please don't hurt me. He's on my leg.
I was terrified because I looked down, I was in an octopus suit, and he had his tentacles wrapped around both my legs, and the grip was so strong, it felt like I was getting my blood pressure taken on my calves. I was shaking, and I thought that was it. I thought I was gonna die. I thought he was gonna spray me with that venomous dye, and there was no escaping. All of a sudden, I just told myself, okay, I have to calm down. I'm gonna have a heart attack. And then miraculously enough, he calmed himself down, and then he loosened his grip, and then he floated away a little bit. I had so many comments saying, pet him, pet him, pet him. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. I did. I pet him. I watched his horns stand up, and he seemed to enjoy it. And I kind of felt this really weird connection with it. I guess I've had about 10 encounters with him now. Like, I'm actually starting to fall in love with this guy. He's like a little ocean puppy. He comes to me, and just me, no one else. I'm the chosen one.
Okay, I don't know about the chosen one, but that giant Pacific octopus is certainly a gentle soul, and lucky her. I'm fairly sure I might have passed out right there on the spot if he'd done that to me. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrian Arsenault. Take care.